Hello there. Now, today's video, I'm going to share with you my favorite pens, ones that you can highlight over without smudging, as well as one that you can erase when you make a mistake. So keep watching and I'll go through my top 3 favorite pens. In this video, I'm going to share with you my top 3 favorite pens. Now, do make sure you stick to the end because I'm going to show you markers that may be in your stationery stash that you may not have considered as part of your writing tools. I'm Marianne. Through my own planning, habit tracking, well-being, and budgeting, I hope you can get some inspiration and ideas for your own planning. Now, all the items I do mention in today's video, I'm going to have all the links in the description below. So let's get started. Okay, so bear with me. I do have my notes on the side just so that I know I am going to cover everything that I need to cover to share with you my favorite pens that I use for my planning needs. So the first one I have is the Pentel Energel pen. So I have it in black. So this is needlepoint, and I do also have it in the blue. I did try the blue one, but I'm more of a black ink girl. So these are 0.5 needlepoint. It does write quite smooth. So I'm going to get a sticky notepad and try and zoom in a little bit more so you can see me writing down. So hopefully everything is working out nice and well for this broadcast. So this is 0.5. So let's see, Pentel. I like it because the ink is very black and it does not skip. It is quick drying. Pentel Energel needlepoint in 0.5, and it does not smudge. So I do give it a second or two before I smudge it, try to smudge it or highlight over it, just to make sure the last bit of ink on that last letter or number that you have written down has dried up. So it is retractable. So let me zoom out again. So it's retractable. The great thing with this is it's got this fingerprint-like grip for comfort, and it is quite comfortable. So I don't know about you, but when I am writing down and using pens that don't have a grip to it, my hand and wrist somehow gets quite sore. So I do quite like this, that it is comfortable in your hand. And if you are writing down long journals, you're not getting any soreness in your wrist. Now, it is made from 54% recycled materials, ink gel based, and then also you can clip it onto your planner or the pocket of your planner as well. So I like this so much that I actually bought quite a few of the Pentel black ink barrels, because I know if I have one in one planner and then I'll need it for something over here, I'd have to go to my desk, get that. So I avoided that by buying quite a few. But then what happened is I actually bought something else. So this is the Pentel Energel. Let me see if I can do this. Pentel Energel cleaner. So the only difference with these ones is the stylish barrel. So it's got these beautifully pastel colors, striped top. So we've got pastel blue, mint, pastel yellow, and pastel pink. Now these ones came with 0.4 needle tip. It does also come in 0.3, but they didn't come in the 0.5. So I'm not as keen on the thickness or thinness, I guess, of the 0.4. So let's see. I think this one is the one that still has the 0.4. So it's sort of just underneath that thickness that I prefer on my planner for the boldness that I want. Pentel Energel planner, and this one is 0.4. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a difference in the thickness. So once the 0.4 ran out in these other three, I did replace it with 0.5 refills. So these do or are refillable, so which is great. So you can just buy the barrel once and then just get the refills for your 0.5 or whatever thickness nib that you want. So that is the 0.5 cleaner pens. Now, the reason why it's one of my, or it's my top go-to pen for planning is because you can highlight over it and it won't smudge. Okay, let me rephrase that. It will smudge depending on the paper you do use. I'll show you that in a second. And also, if you do highlight it quite quickly after writing, as I said earlier, that last bit of ink that's just on the surface drying may still be a little bit wet. And so, of course, if you highlight over it, it may cause a bit of smudging. So let me just do some smudge test on some planner paper that I have. Okay, so here's some planner paper I have prepared earlier. So these one, I use 160 GSM weighted paper. So that's about 41 pound paper. Now, if you can't get 160 GSM, then the 120 GSM or 32 pound paper is still quite fine. So the reason why I do like the thickness of this is then I don't have to worry about bleed through or ghosting of any of the markers that I use in my planning, specifically the Kuretake Zig Clean Color Dot markers. When you do press down on those dot markers, they are quite inky, and so if your paper is not thick enough, you will find it will bleed through or ghost on the other side. And if you're not too fond of that, then you might want to go for thicker paper. So let's go and use the paper, and I'm going to use for this demonstration, which has the 0.5 refill in it, in the Pentel Energel cleaner barrel. I'm going to do a smudge test. So apologies if I am zooming in and out of, but I think this is the best way to show it to you. So let's just put, I'm going to have ready, I use the Zebra Mild Liner highlighters as my go-to highlighters, and I'm going to use the yellow one, so then you'll be able to see if it will smudge. So let's just do, so smudge test. So let's just go over that with the finger. And so you may not see it on there, but I think there is a slight, the smudge is exactly on the grid of the line. So I wouldn't recommend highlighting right after. Maybe write a few more words and a few more lines. So then that way you have that, even though it is quick drying, again, depending on the paper you're using, because if it is thicker or there's a smooth coating on it, then the ink does stay a little bit longer on the paper before it dries. So let's do smudge test and wait a couple of seconds. And then I just want to make sure that there's no dark ink on the tip of my highlighter. And yeah, there is no, I don't know if you can see that. Yep, there is no smudging on there. Probably a little bit on the tiny bit of the U where your pen might have rested a little bit longer. So the Pentel Energel pen are the pens that I use when I am doing my weekly planning, where I would like to highlight or color code my tasks. So let me show you an example. Let me know where you're tuning in from if you are here watching this live. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. So here is my October 17th to the 23rd. So this is when I use the 0.5 Energel needle point. So I didn't highlight it because I did want to keep it black and white. But let me show you my list of stuff. So this is the Pentel Energel cleaner, and I highlight over it. And as you can see, there is no smudging. Now, I did, of course, highlight this long after I've written it down. So if you do have notes, if you're study notes and you want to highlight your heading, again, I'll just wait until a few seconds or until you've written any lines to avoid any smudging that do come up. Okay. Now, give me a thumbs up in the chat if everything is good, the audio and the visual is fine, because I don't know if I can be heard by you guys. So now let's have a look. Let me just look at my notes. So we talked about smudging and highlighting. Now, earlier I did mention that it all depends on the paper that you do use. Now, if you do have, of course, I don't have it handy. If you do have notebooks that have paper that are fountain. Oh, hello, how are you? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me know. Oh, I see you in my Instagram. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jewish Planner Mom. I appreciate you being here. And you're from New Mexico. Thank you so much for taking time to come and watch me today. So these Let's of London journal, dotted grid journals, are what's called fountain-friendly paper, which means the paper has a nice smooth coating. So then when you are writing with fountain pens, and I wonder if I have any fountain pen handy. Sorry, I just moved right close to the microphone and probably busted your ears. So here's a fountain pen. This is the Pilot Kakuno fountain pen. Let me see if I can do. So if you were using this notebook for fountain pen, fountain pen friendly, it just means that it's not going to bleed through onto the other side of the paper. However, if you are going to use your Pentel Energel pen on this type of paper and then highlight over it, it'll be a failure. So let's see. Pentel Energel needle point. I'm going to wait a tiny little bit, and I'm even going to fan it so it dries quicker. And let's just highlight over that. And as you can see, it actually transferred on top of my highlighter pen, and then there's ink on it, and it's smudged. So again, just do make sure you do a test run on the paper that you do use. But I use the J. Burroughs digital premium paper. So I like the thickness of it, as well as the it has a soft cushiony feel when you're writing to it. You know how when you write on very thin paper, regardless of the pen that you use, it feels scratchy and it just doesn't feel nice. So again, the quality of your paper will depend on the smudginess or the way your pen writes. Okay, so that is the Pentel Energel cleaner pens. So this one, or you can get the Pearl Barrel Pentel Energel needle point. So that is my top pen that I use in my planning at the moment. Of course, it may change along the way later down the track. So let me put that aside. So the next one is Let me quickly have a look. Let's put this aside. So this one has its own little moment in time. Okay, so this one is the Muji Gel Pen. I don't know, and the 0.38. So it has a gel rollerboard pen. It writes very smoothly. And of course, I don't know where I put my notepad. So Muji Gel Pen 0.38. So now this one, earlier I told you I like the thickness of the 0.5 Pentel Energel, but then there are some instances where in my planning weekly layout, I do like the minimalism and the thinness of a 0.38 nib. So it just depends on the way I want the page to look, because sometimes the boldness or the thickness of a pen just makes the page look clunky. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense to you, for those of you that do plan and use different type of pens. So I use Muji and Pigma Micron the most. I think I know it's the Pigma Micron felt tip pens, because I used to use those, felt tip pens in my bullet journal in the LIVESTREAMS dotted notebooks. So I do have quite a few different felt tip pens as well through my Bujo days. So now these Muji gel pens come in various colors. So I think they come in 10. I don't have the purple one. So again, great for when you want to, excuse me for a second. If you want to have colorful writing all over your planner, or for your headings, or even for doodlings, these are great pens. And now you can also buy different barrels. So this one is just the plain solid or opaque barrel. And you can also get black and some really other fancy ones. And then the refills you can just get here in Australia. I think there are 50 cents each. So then you don't have to spend, I think, $1.50 for the whole pen. You can just buy the refills. So that will save you on money. And of course, it'll save the environment, not having to have so many empty barrel pens. Now, I also do have them in the 0.5 clickable ones. Sorry, excuse me for a second. Let me just... Of course, when I want to go live, that's when my voice doesn't work. So here we are. So the Nort gel pens, so they are a little bit thicker. Let's see if I can get the black one. Muji Gel Pen in 0.5. So yeah, a little bit thicker than your 0.38. However, let me show you, sorry for the noise and the clanking. I'm just going to put it quietly in my Perspex glass pen holder. So now let me show you what I mean about having the different thickness of pens in my planning. So yeah, I showed you, so this is the 0.5 Pentel Energel needlepoint, and this is the 0.38 Muji gel pens. So let's see if I can have them side by side. So for this layout, I wanted to have the thinness of the 0.38, and this one I think I thought I was going to highlight over it. So like anything else, of course, you know, you want to have different style pens as you do with fashion or anything else that 1 week. And also, of course, when you are planning week in, week out, you want it just to change things up a bit. So that Muji gel pens in 0.38 is my another go-to pen of mine in my planning. And the next one is going to be a really handy tool, especially if you make quite a bit of mistakes. And it's the erasable pens. So the ones I'm currently using is this Filofax erasable pens. Now they do come in the pastel colors, monochrome and metallic colors, and they are twist ball action, and it's got I think this is 0. Let me have a look. Let me put my glasses on. I think they might be 0.3. I'll have it all in the description below once we finish with the live stream. But if you make a mistake, these rubber tips here, technically they're not erasing the ink. Through friction, it just makes the ink invisible. So it's ideally, if you want it to come back again, you might want to put it in the fridge and then the ink will pop back up. So very important, if anything you do right with these, you want permanent, I would suggest not leaving your planner or any paper that you use them on in heat or in sunlight, because it will disappear. So just be mindful that when you are using erasable pens like these Filofax Clipbook erasable pens, that you do not have it near heat, because then all your lovely writing will disappear. So yes, you can also have these ones refillable. So let me see. So the refillable pack have green, red, and black in them. So again, if you run out, just swap them over. Now, there are also other erasable pens out there. More known are the Friction. I think these are by Pilot. So Friction erasable pen, again, it's got the rubber tip at the end. So then these ones are clickable ones. These ones have the lid and clickable ones. I think the clickable ones I liked because then you don't have to worry about putting the lid back on or misplacing the lid somewhere. So the things I use my erasable pens for are for my budgeting and expense tracking. And I make quite a bit of mistakes when I am tracking my budget. I write down the wrong figure. So here we are. Let me just move the clear divider page. So here we are. I write down the description of what we spent on, what category it is. The green pen, erasable pen, I use for any income or incoming inflow of money. So whether it's a family tax benefit or if I get a refund back from something I return at the store. So I have it in green, so then it just stands out. So let me show you how this works. So let me do this one. Let me zoom in. So, okay, so let's just say, today's the 26th of October, and we had grocery, and the category is grocery, and it's $50.10. And then I look back at my bank account and it's $50.40. So then just make sure you retract the nib back in, grab your little rubber tip, create some friction. Let's do the whole thing actually. Create some friction and voila, the ink has disappeared. Okay, and then of course you can now write over it and put the correct figure or whatever it is that you need to correct when you are writing. So erasable pens are my next go-to pens when I am planning, but specifically for my expense tracking, where I do make quite a lot of mistakes when I am writing down my budget and my expense tracker. Okay. Now let's have a look. I think so. We've gone through now. Okay. So now before I share with you, at the top of the video, I told you that I was going to share with you markers that you may not have considered using as writing tools in your planning. Before I go on to do that, now if you are liking this video and you are finding value in it, I would appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I'd love for your subscription and hit that bell to get notified of any new videos I upload here on YouTube. So thank you so much. I do appreciate you being here for the live. And if you are watching this on replay, let me know in the comment section below what your favorite pen is, or if there's pens that aren't part of my favorite that is part of yours. Let me know, because then I can go and check it out. More excuse or more reason to buy more stationery. Okay, so now let's get to the bonus. Okay, so now these ones here, so let me put these aside and show you these ones. So again, these are not essentially pens. They're more marketed as markers. However, let's have a look at these Kuretake Z Clean Color Dot Markers. So if you aren't aware of these markers, they are dot markers. So they have soft, rounded, cushy end on one side, and then depending on the amount of pressure that you put on the page, the bigger the dots are. So the lighter the pressure, the smaller the dots, the harder the pressure, the bigger the dots. So that's one side, and that's how I normally use these clean color dot markers. But it has a fine tip end on one side that you can use for your planning. So to do, clean the oven. So maybe the yellow is not the best color because it doesn't show up as well. To do, clean the oven. So there we are. Let's do it in different color, Marianne, so then we can see it better. Oh, actually the blue, I use blue a lot. Task. Upload video. How's that? Upload video. So there you go. So another one that I forgot I had in my stationery stash, these are Typo. So I'm not sure. I think it might be an international brand, but here in Australia, Typo is the brand. So these are great dupes for your dual brush-ended tip pens. So one side is your brush tip for your, if you want to do some handwritten fonts. Let me see if I can do one. I'm not very good at it. So throughout my bullet journaling and planning days, hand lettering was also a passion that I tried to incorporate in my planning. So that's the brush tip end. And then on the other side, can remove that now. On the other side is a felt tip. So very much like, is it Stabilo? So hello, everybody. Okay, so that you can also use in your planning as a pen. So have a look through your stationery stash if you're like me and have bought quite a few different things along the way. Then you might have dual tip and markers that you may not have even used the other side of, that can be really good for your habit tracking. For me, I use the tip of the blue Kurotake Zip Clean Color Dot markers to mark down my water intake. So let's have a look here. So 1 glass of water, 2 glasses, 3 glasses. And because it is nice and fine point, you can color in those small areas on your planner. And also, if you wanted, you can use the fine tip ends of your jewel markers to mark your habit tracker. So here I'm using the color dot markers, but let's pretend this is the grid. This is how I use the fine tip ends on my habit tracker in different months. So I would just use diagonal lines to mark that I've completed a habit or a routine. And then I will use a different color on another day. Again, changing things up a bit in your planner, because one of the things that I do, the comments I get on my Instagram page of people who want to do planning is that they get a bit bummed that they didn't, they're not consistent with their planning. I think one of the things from the Atomic Habit book by James Clear, one of the things to try to build better habits is making things attractive, and stationery, colored pens, colored markers, brush markers, and using 1 week thin nib pens, another week thicker nib pens, will create the variety that you can then help fuel you in having a more attractive and more fun way to plan week in, week out. Now, for me, I get bored as well sometimes of doing exactly the same thing over and over again. And that's why using the tools that you have or you want to get later down the track is important in creating those great planning, organizing habits, whether you do it digitally or pen to paper. So that is another planner tool that you can use. So go check your stash, and you can even check your children's coloring pens and their pencil cases and see what sort of things that they have in there. So let's just recap. We have erasable pens. I normally use for my budgeting and tracking. I've got my Pentel Energel Cleaner and needlepoint pens in 0.5, as well as my Muji Gel Pens. All have refills available that you can buy, so you don't have to buy the barrels over and over again. Now, now that you know my favorite pens, again, let me know what sort of other stationaries are your favorite in the comment section below. And the next thing for you to do is to watch the next video that's coming up. The link will be in the description below. If you want to know how I use the Kurotake Zip Clean Color Dot markers in different ways in my planner. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.